Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. We're playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps at the moment. That's mostly what I've been playing this week, I guess. Very solid sequel to Blind Forest. Which, I haven't really played. I've dabbled with that one as far as a replay is concerned, but I don't remember most of how it goes. This one just feels like so much of it seems so familiar to Hollow Knight. I mean, there's some stuff that's like obviously very similar to Ori and the Blind Forest. Some of the moves you get and things like that. But like your starting attack is a sword slash. That's definitely different. You get a self heal right away. You get all these like shards or badges that you can equip, and you have certain number of slots and stuff, and they do different bonus effects. I don't remember if that was in the first game or not. They give you a double jump like immediately, but maybe that was in the first game as well. I don't know. It could be unfair to just say they're copying Hollow Knight, but the bottom line is I think it's a very solid sequel. The other game that came out the other day is another sequel, Neo 2. And I do want to pick that up because it's apparently been getting some pretty solid reviews. People say it's definitely a big improvement over the original. So that sounds interesting. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And, we've got some more big games coming out. We've got Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing coming out on Friday, I want to say, 20th. So, plenty of games, which is good because we're all in quarantine now. That coronavirus, man. I've been talking about the coronavirus for a couple months now. And, obviously, everyone I talked to, for the most part, in January, scoffed and said it was nothing. And now look where we are. Every school in the country is closed, pretty much. Yeah, it's certainly pretty wild. It's probably, hopefully, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Once in a century kind of thing. A lot of people, at least in the U.S., are still saying, it's all just a big overreaction, blah, blah, blah. And it's obvious that they don't, they haven't been following this thing for very long. And truth be told, the U.S. is really not doing enough. And the stuff we are doing is just not enough and too late. Like stopping all flights incoming from Europe. That doesn't really, I mean, that may have helped like a month ago, but it's already pretty well here. So they really should be closing all non-essential businesses. And the thing is, it's like, you know, there's a lot of ramifications no matter what. No matter what we do, there's a lot of ramifications. But you got lives on the line. So it's serious shit. Stock market, it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. I mean, I definitely did not. If I had actually understood the stock market like 2 months ago, I probably would have profited far more. I you know, I would have seen the writing on the wall. I would have known about options and shit. But so far, I've like tripled my investment, which is pretty good, and it's looking like that'll continue.
No money for no kidomise dono fuale e mo babo quala naso nomina do schismo o walo no kido shek naso cool.
It, you know, for me personally, as an individual, coronavirus is not that big of a deal. You know, I don't go to work. I don't have kids. I don't have a significant other. And, you know, my job likely can only be helped with everyone under quarantine, sitting at home with nothing to do but watch YouTube videos all day. So, and, you know, if I get the coronavirus, I'm pretty young. Likely won't be too bad. But my parents, you know, with their art company, they depend on a lot of income from going around the country to craft shows. And at first it was a concern of like, if they go around the country to these big craft shows, they're likely to get coronavirus. And they're, you know, they're almost 70. So it's not great. But now all of these craft shows are now being canceled, just like any other big event. So now they're missing out on a significant amount of income for the whole family business. And it's just rough all around. But, I mean, you're going to hear a lot of rough stories out of this. A lot of people are going to be missing out on money. A lot of people are going to be dying. No bueno, man. Fuck, that's an instant death. Like I said, it's a once in a century kind of situation. Don't do that. Anyways, on to some happier topics. I'm sure you've heard enough about the coronavirus already. So this week on this on this channel, we finished up Blasphemous. Very short Let's Play. Obviously, I played plenty of it off camera, so mostly it was just the main sort of story and stuff. And even that, I guess I cut out a little bit on accident. But not a terrible game. I don't regret doing that Let's Play. And Metroid Prime 2 is, of course, continuing on and on and on, which will, of course, lead into Metroid Prime 3. And because we have a little bit of time here between the end of Blasphemous and the start of Doom Eternal, I decided to just upload Dragon Quest 2. Not a very long Let's Play, but should slot in nicely. So, yeah, that's the plan. And obviously, towards the end of this week, we'll be starting Doom Eternal, which I hope is very good. I'm not doing a Let's Play, of course, of Animal Crossing, but you'll likely see it on Hanging with Mangg, so I can show off my cool island or whatever. Also, of course, Two Brothers Play is continuing. We might be recording something tonight. We'll see, but we do have every intention of continuing. So, that's that. Over on the Exploring series, I released a video on the Syncope Symphony, which, of course, you know, after releasing the SCP-5000 stuff, did not perform nearly as well, but that's alright. It performed as well as it could. And I also released a video on the Drow, finally. I never heard back from that musician, so I just released it with some random cryo chamber cavern music, and life goes on. Music's not a big concern for me. And, you know, the Drow video must not have been a huge concern for that guy, so is what it is. Shit. Yeah, and then this week I worked on a video on literary SCPs. Any SCP that is connected to books or pieces of literature. Not an incredibly long video. Probably not one of my best videos, but it's probably pleasant enough. There's a couple pleasant ones in there. It's always a bummer when there isn't a tag. Like, there's not a literary tag for SCPs. Many of them are listed under document or narrative, but yeah, it's all right. It's an all right video. Why is On the Backs of Gods unlisted? I don't know specifically what On the Backs of Gods video you're referring to, but if it's on the other channel, almost everything that does not start with the word exploring is unlisted. Because I really didn't want to clutter up the channel. Shit. Sweet. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so normally after I talk about the channels, I would talk about board games if I played any, and then I would talk about role manging. Is it on this channel? Again, I don't know what you're referring to. Are you talking about when we did, like, On the Backs of Gods RPG tests? Are you talking about when I did, like, the board game design videos? I don't know exactly what you're referring to. It's possible it's on this channel. I don't know why I would unlist anything on this channel. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways. I've actually been in a board gaming mood lately. I don't know what sparked it. I think maybe like a random Dice Tower video auto played after something else on YouTube. I don't know exactly. But I've been watching some Dice Tower stuff. And then, like, this whole coronavirus quarantine thing started, you know, social distancing, putting our game night into question. And it was like, oh, well, there's Tabletop Simulator and Roll20. We could do stuff like that. So I've been messing around a lot with Tabletop Simulator. I've been looking at board games that I've... Because I have not, like, paid attention at all to board games in the last, like, 2 years. So I've been looking at what I've missed. There's been a few interesting developments. I've actually bought a couple board games in the last few days. One is called Decrypto, which is now the #1 party game on BGG, supplanting Codenames, if I remember correctly. And people were saying it's like the next new Codenames, and it's sort of similar. 2 teams with like one person knowing a secret and the rest of their team trying to guess the secret. So it seems pretty cool. Once this whole pandemic is over, I hope to play it. The other game I bought is called Chronicles of Crime. I'm planning to play this with my mom on the occasions that I can get over to their house. Tom Vassell said that he would never play Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective again because now he has Chronicles of Crime. Which, that's a serious thing to say. This Consulting Detective, that's a solid game. I mean, yeah, Sherlock Holmes is a real asshole. And it's tough to really feel like you did well in that game, but still. I guess Chronicles of Crime, it doesn't have any, like... It's mostly done through an app. Like, you have a bunch of cards, basically, that depict characters and locations with QR codes. And the app sort of handles the whole storyline of the mystery. And, you know, as the storyline progresses, the QR codes correspond to, like, different events. And so you would scan, like, the zoo or something if you want to go check out the zoo again. Or you'd scan the candle maker if you want to ask him another question or something, you know, as the mystery develops. I don't know. But if Tom Vassell says it's better than Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, I have to check it out. Because I really like detective shit. So that sounds pretty cool. Have I played Chinatown? We actually just played Chinatown a few weeks ago instead of doing RPG night. Chinatown's like one of our favorite sort of trading negotiation games. We're big fans of Chinatown. I'd love to see like a 2.0 version or an expansion or something. I actually, a while back on Tabletop Simulator, I came up with a couple sort of expansion modules of my own. I added a 1 point or one point business that we call the food stand. So you only needed one of it to get a complete business, and it was worth 20,000 a round instead of 10,000. And then we also had the 7-point businesses, the mall, which you needed 7 to complete. They were worth an astronomical amount if you managed to complete it, but yeah, I mean, we stopped playing on Tabletop Simulator, so those sort of got forgotten about. And I had ideas for other expansion modules. Like, one that I started like designing and working on was like player powers. Everyone would have their own like character they were playing as with their own ability, and all the characters were based on like Big Trouble in Little China characters. I never finished developing that, although I think I still have the files for it. Sorry, I'm getting into some spoilery stuff here with Ori. Ever read Siege by James Mason? No, I have not. So I've been messing around on Tabletop Simulator, looking at some of the new games on there. The last time I really looked into Tabletop Simulator, they had just unveiled. They had just released like the scripting features, so that games could start to be automated, like setups could be automated and things like that. Like you push a button, it sets up the board and tokens and stuff. That had just been released, so there was really like practically no games, no mods that supported it at all. But I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I had released a mod on Tabletop Simulator that was pretty well received. I got a bunch of downloads and likes. It was a mod of Lords of Vegas, which our group was a fan of, and there wasn't a mod of it at the time, and it was not a complicated mod to put together. It's not like Twilight Imperium or some shit. But yeah, I was proud of that. So I was interested in the modding aspect of Tabletop Simulator, and the scripting thing seemed cool. But then I sort of fell out of board games. Coming back to it now, I mean, there's so many scripted mods now, and it's just awesome to see. I really dig that stuff. I'm talking over this like super emotional. God, the Ori games they just pound home the emotional aspect of the story. It's nuts, man. Exploring creepypastas anytime soon, both classic and more modern. I don't know. Maybe. Like, I just feel like that's not different enough from what I normally do every single week. Like, it doesn't, like... When I start to work on a D&D video, it's like, oh, this is really different. This is really different than SCP. I sort of, that's interesting now. Doing a creepypasta video, it's like, okay, more of this. Obviously, it's different than SCP, but it just doesn't excite me. It doesn't help I've never really been into creepypastas. I'm sure when the SCP train slows down and I'm desperate for money, I'll probably do some videos on it. So, the big one that I've been playing on TTS has been Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, Arkham Horror Second Edition was like my first real modern board game. Ziggy and I, gosh, we played Arkham Horror so many times. We had developed so many like homebrew characters and stuff for that. I have a file full, full of homebrew characters for Arkham Horror. And let me see if I can bring this up. Just to show you how many. Gosh, there's 109 files here. But yeah, well, I would say there's some other stuff mixed in here as well, but there's like 60, maybe 55 homebrew characters here. Not all of them were created by us. A bunch of them, somebody released like a Final Fantasy VI character pack that they homebrewed. So it has like all the Final Fantasy VI characters, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Ziggy and I came up with a lot of homebrew characters based on like Arnold Schwarzenegger characters, mostly like movies and stuff that we were, characters from movies. Um, Gulk is in there. I mean, we made a Jack Bauer, Leon Kennedy, uh, Rick O'Connell from the Mummy films. I mean, we came up with them, and then there were a bunch of ancient ones that we came up with, like Sauron. We did, and Diablo. We did. Yeah, I mean, we did a whole bunch of stuff. So we just played so much Arkham Horror Second Edition, and then that game really fell off once Eldritch Horror came out. Because Arkham Horror Second Edition is really not that. I mean, it's not streamlined in any sense of the word. Eldritch Horror did a lot to streamline it and sort of expand it. So we didn't play Eldritch Horror nearly as much as we played Arkham Horror, but we conceded that it was a better game. But by that point, we were into so many other games that there was a lot competing for our attention. So Arkham Horror 3rd Edition came out, and by that point, I wasn't into board games that much, so I sort of just passed it by. It wasn't getting like insanely rave reviews or anything, but it seemed solid. Ever read Next Leap by Alexander Slavros? No, I have not. Most of the books I read are either like Stephen King or very popular fantasy stuff. I'm not that interesting when it comes to reading. So yeah, I've played 3 games now on TTS of Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. 1 with a group of 3 people and 2 by myself. It's a very solid game. I think I like it better than Eldritch Horror. I like how like contained it is. It's back in just Arkham. And it borrows a lot of concepts from both Eldritch Horror and Arkham Horror, the card game. And it actually, the way that the scenarios are set up with like a deck of cards that you sort of traverse through, it sort of feels like playing the card game without having to like build a deck of cards and crap like that. It's not as big of an investment as the card game. So far I really like it. Another game that I'm interested to try out on there is called The King's Dilemma. It's a legacy game, so it sort of evolves over a number of plays. Things change. Based on player decisions. And all the players control different great houses that are advisors to this king. And their decisions across different, like, dilemmas influence the state of the kingdom. You know, how well the kingdom does financially, with morale, with their army, you know. And so the game mostly consists of these dilemmas popping up that are, like, very narrative based. Like, the one card right at the start is like, a bunch of the farmers' windmills burned down because of blah blah blah. Do we want to pay to rebuild these windmills? And then every player puts in votes on whether they should rebuild or whether they should not. And both directions have ramifications. If you pay to rebuild all these windmills, the wealth of the kingdom goes down because you have to pay for all this shit, but the food supply goes back up because the windmills are functioning. Whereas if you don't, the food supply goes down, but maybe, you know, wealth goes up because you save money in that aspect. You know, things like that. And that's just like the very start of the dilemmas. And so it seems like a game right up my alley with sort of this narrative focus, but this negotiation and diplomacy. Developing this kingdom based on, you know, your own, because every great house has sort of their own secret agenda. So they have their own things that they want to get out of these dilemmas, not just it's all for the sake of the kingdom. You know, there's more to it than that. Everybody has their own agendas. Because there is ultimately a winner, you know, based on how well that they've performed for their great house. So, it seems pretty cool. I'd have to get a group of people together for a number of games, because it is sort of a legacy thing. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. And so that brings us to what's going to happen with RPG Night going forward. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's really not responsible right now to get together as a group for an activity that could very easily just be done online. You know, for activities that can only be done in person, obviously it's a much harder sell for people to be like, hey, cut that out. Stop it. And even though they should, I understand that it's, you know, especially in America, not a lot of people are going to listen right now. But this is a thing that we could easily do online with really no issues. It would be stupid for us to just go ahead offline. So I'm sort of advocating for just doing it on Roll20. which I think most of us are on board with, except for Thomas, who doesn't seem to like doing anything online. So it's possible we'll lose him if we switch to Roll20. In which case, it's not really feasible to go ahead with this campaign without him. So I don't know if we're going to start up some other campaign, or if we're just going to do some TTS stuff for a while, which I probably will stream if that's the case. Because I used to do that. You know, when we used to play like Cosmic Encounter and stuff. So either way, it could be interesting. Fuck you. But it's a time of uncertainty, you might say, across the country. Pretty crazy section. But yeah, I guess that's it. Oh gosh, coughing. Can't be coughing in today's society. But I guess that's it. We don't have an RPG to talk about. So I'll leave it off here. Check out the Literary SCPs video for some nice, pleasant material. Got more. Fuck. Got more Metroid Prime 2, Dragon Quest 2, and later this week, Doom Eternal. And I guess that's it. So stay safe out there. Wash your hands and all that. So my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.